Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football this weekend. Chris Hamill is in the hot seat, and it was a hot weekend of action. Not many goals, but lots of talking points. And we start with the major one at Chelsea, Hamill.
Oh, it's contentious, baby. Kepa grabbing the headlines this morning. We're going to detail the games. We're going to break them down like we normally do in a second. But we've got to talk about Arrizabalaga and the revolt that continues at Stamford Bridge, because that touchline misunderstanding really took a lot away from what was a much improved performance against the dominant side in England. So the keeper stayed on the pitch after initially going down injured with minutes left, and penalty specialist Willy Caballero was brought on, or Sarri wanted to bring him on even. He was left limp, was Willy, limp and cold, fully kitted out on the sideline. He's the real victim in all this. He didn't end up coming on as the keeper refused to come off, much to the frustration of Sarri, who stormed off down the tunnel, no doubt for a little cigarette. It was all getting a bit too much for Maurizio. And Kepa didn't fare very well in the subsequent penalty shootout. Now, let's hear what Sarri had to say about proceedings, because fairly philosophical afterwards compared to his touchline antics, in which Rudiger was holding him back at one point and Azpilicueta was sort of fighting for Arrizabalaга's case at one point. Doing your dirty laundry in public, Chelsea. Anyway, over to Maurizio.
Can you explain to us in your own words what was going on?
I think that you have to play about football, because we played, I think, a very good match. And then in that situation, a big misunderstanding, because by radio I understood that there was a problem and we needed a change. And I realized that all the situation when only the doctor arrived to the bench after 4 minutes. And so it was a big misunderstanding, because I thought, I understood that the goalkeeper had a cramp. And so for me was unable to go to the penalties. But the problem was not a cramp. And so he was able to go to the penalty.
Well, since the incident, Kepa has also come out on his own Instagram to release a statement, obviously towing the party line, saying it was just a misunderstanding. But come on, we can all see through this rubbish. This was a classic example of the players openly defying the manager. How embarrassing for Kepa. How humiliating for Caballero. A complete lack of respect from a 24-year-old Spaniard towards his supposed, goalkeeping union friend, Caballero. Caballero has been disrespected here. This is an embarrassing situation. No wonder Sarri was doing his nut. I mean, Sarri should have walked on the pitch and pulled him off in a headlock. Yeah,
poor big Willy Caballero. Yeah. He's the innocent victim in all of this. Just left limp and cold on the sideline, fully kitted out. The reverse John Terry, you might say. But that, the way he was so dismissive of his manager's wishes, the little wink afterwards, it is indicative of a culture at Chelsea which has been rotting from the inside out for the last 2 to 3 years, where the players have wielded much more power than the manager. And they're not even trying to hide it now, it would seem. And we don't want to overblow this, because heightened emotions in a cup final. Arrizabalaga, he can see himself in the headlines, saving the penalty, arresting the slump in Chelsea's form, being the hero at the end of the business end of the season even. And to be subbed as a goalkeeper in that scenario might be tough to take.
Don't be going down with cramp then. You're a keeper. Get up.
Yeah. But it's easy to see how Sarri, I suppose, interpreted that as an injury. So he had the hamstring problem, which kept him out of the Malmo game. Yeah, like you said, he'd gone down twice. If that's the case, you need to put your own wishes aside. Willy Caballero has prospered in penalty shootouts before. You just need to park your ego and do what's right for the team. And I think everyone in that Chelsea side is sort of playing to save their own reputation at the moment.
Yeah, it's all got a little bit embarrassing. And you know what's worse about it is it takes away from one of Sarri's better performances of recent times.
Absolutely.
They were really defensively cohesive, and I thought Pep Guardiola was really respectful after the game when he said this.
Compliment to Chelsea. They did incredible performance, and it's incredible how can Jorginho in the last minutes and extra time, they make a movements forward and the lateral movements. So in the penalty, everything could happen. We were lucky. So in the penalties, in the Ederson, and happy to make back-to-back in this competition for the first time in our history in Manchester City.
All right, let's park the drama then and let's get back to breaking the game down like we do on winners and losers, because this was Manchester City's 6th League Cup win. Only Liverpool have won the competition more on 8, and it now means that Guardiola has won 11 of the 12 cup finals that he has contested as a manager, including the last 8. How's that for consistency? What a big match manager, big game player I was going to say. He's not playing anymore. A run going back to 2011 when Barca lost to Real in the Copa del Rey.
Incredible.
Vincent Kompany subsequently becoming the first captain to win the competition 4 times, but far from a classic performance from Manchester City. So only put 3 shots on target. I mean, this is a team that is averaging 3.85 home goals per game at the moment in the Premier League, which is absolutely sickening. Those 3 shots came over the course of 120 minutes, and they failed to score for the first time since losing to Chelsea 2-0 in December, which was pretty surprising given that they had 63% possession. They had 13 attempts in total, but Chelsea's rearguard action, which like you said was much improved, they sat a little bit deeper, they were a bit more defensively minded, only allowing Man City 4 shots inside the box whilst giving up slightly on the attacking end. I think their first shot on target came after 41. So there was a more defensive game plan. The system was very similar. The lineup was very similar. But they weren't going balls to the walls, and it looked like, you know, it had a chance of paying off before that drama at the end. But anything else to add, because we've covered it pretty
extensively. Yeah, I agree. I think the defensive performances from both sides were excellent. I want to mention N'Golo Kante in particular. I thought he was brilliant on the day, and for Maurizio Sarri to come out midweek and be so negative about him and say, oh, you know, he doesn't move the ball quick enough, he's slow on the passing front, I think is a total disrespect to one of the world's best defensive midfielders. He could comfortably do that role as well as Jorginho, in my opinion. He went out there and made 7 tackles, more than anyone else on the pitch. He also contributed with 2 dribbles, 1 shot and a key pass. Also, I want to shout out Zinchenko. Often goes under the radar, but a real utility man. I think he made 13 tackles and interceptions on the day for Man City, which is just outrageous. So congratulations to Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, still in the hunt for a quadruple, but more big issues off the pitch for Kepa and for Maurizio Sarri. What do you think about the whole Kepa-Maurizio Sarri situation? Who was right, who was wrong? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
First losers this week come from @RoomCobra. Decent beer with a curry, that.
It is. Only with a curry.
Only with a curry? That's harsh. What curry are you going for?
Isolated a Cobra's mediocre.
Curry of choice.
Whereas aligned with a Madras, for instance, really nice flavours.
Yeah, with a Madras, I'd go for a chicken makhani. Offsetting that sweet coconutty taste. Yeah, you know, come on. A little bit of barbecue sauce in there. But Leicester, anyway, our first losers. What a shambles at the start of that section. Let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, talking of shambles, let's go to the Foxes, because Claude Puel lost his job, didn't he, after getting battered 4-1 at home by Crystal Palace, in the process slipping down to 12th in the league. Not really good enough for a club of Leicester's stature. Michy Batshuayi obviously getting on the score sheet for Palace. Slightly lucky. Shot from range, kind of cannoned off his knee. Wrong-footed Schmeichel, didn't it? Johnny Evans then picked up an equaliser and was kind of sprinting back to the halfway line like, we're going to come back here. This is our game. And then it all went up. Individual errors galore in this one, wasn't it? Not good enough from Harry Maguire, not good enough from Kasper Schmeichel. Wilf Zaha got a very comfortable brace, and Milivojevic scored another penalty. I think he scored 7 of his last 8. An expert from the spot, and it all resulted, didn't it, in Claude Puel losing his job. And it was a bit of an odd one, to be totally honest, because I think they had 65% possession in this one. They had 27 shots. You know, if this was on Football Manager, you'd be going, this is a bloody glitch. 27 shots. I've had 64% possession. I've lost 4-1. Not happy. When would this ever happen in the real world? Well, it's bloody well happened, and Puel's got the sack because of it. I think the favourites now to replace him, Brendan Rodgers. Not happy bunny there, Hamill. I think that's a good job for him.
No, I don't think he'll take it. Where do you take Leicester at this point if 9th or 10th isn't good enough for the owners, isn't good enough for the fans? Where do you take that club?
I think this would be a great opportunity for Brendan Rodgers. I really do. Really? I think it's a young squad. There's some really exciting talent in there. I think they've got a lot of money to spend.
For the first time in a long time, yeah, he'd have a decent transfer budget.
I think this is a really good opportunity for a young, hungry manager. I tweeted out on the weekend saying I think this is a great opportunity for Leo Jardim to come into England.
Yeah.
I don't think it's working at Monaco. I think maybe get out whilst you still can. I know he's in his second
The feel-good factor's back, baby. They beat Lyon, which we cover on ERU. Go and check that out in an hour.
I know, I agree, but I think that he's only going to last the end of the season anyway. I think they parted ways earlier in the season. He came back just to try and keep them in the league, didn't he? Whereas I think Leicester is a great opportunity to progress as a manager. I think the other candidates are below that calibre. Neil Lennon, I don't think that's a great appointment if you're a Leicester City fan. I really don't.
No.
David Wagner, again, I'm sorry, I don't think he's at that level needed to challenge the likes of Wolves.
They're not a step up, are they? Although, I think the next person that comes in, the impetus will be on them being an attacking manager. I think Claude Puel's negative brand of football made him an easy target. Yeah. And I'm not sure, Leicester don't really have a defined vision. It's been very pragmatic over the last few years, hasn't it? It's been very much how can we secure a mid-table finish, maybe have a decent cut run. Following the Premier League victory, I don't think any of the very sensible Leicester fans out there had aspirations of becoming a Champions League club on a consistent basis. So it may well require a bit of a visionary to come in.
It wouldn't be the worst idea. I don't know whether Marco Rose has been confirmed as going to Hoffenheim. There was a bit of chat that he was going to replace Nagelsmann there, wasn't there? If he is still available from Leipzig, from Salzburg, sorry, I think he'd be a great option. I talked about him on the podcast as being nicely aligned with Southampton. They ended up getting Hasenhüttl, which is a similar sort of brand of manager. I think if they can get him out of Salzburg, they should have a nibble if Hoffenheim haven't already got that deal secured.
Yeah, and that's someone who would bring a strong philosophy along with him. That's someone who could take the club in a direction, not necessarily bouncing from match week to match week, trying to secure a mid-table finish. But let's go on to Crystal Palace, talking about mid-table finishes, because Palace, the Eagles, are catching up with the Foxes, aren't they? After their terrible start to the season, they are having a decent period in the final third, let's say. Crystal Palace have now managed a 4-game unbeaten run and are just 1 place and 2 points behind Leicester in 13th. Of course, Roy Hodgson as well, personal accolade for him this weekend, becoming the oldest manager to take the helm of a Premier League club.
Yow.
I think you're overtaking Bobby Robson in that regard. I think that was in his final Newcastle game. But yes, man of the match in this game, doing the business for his elderly statesman manager, was Wilf Zaha. The first time in his career he scored in 3 games in a row. So a real purple patch for him. But his defensive effort in this game equally as impressive, winning 100% of his tackles and making a couple of clearances to boot too. So really putting in a well-rounded shift. Pretty anonymous on the attacking end actually until he got his goal.
Yeah.
But
how he's allowed to ghost in at the back post like that and tap it in from 4 yards out.
I mean, did you see what happened? So Maguire left foot in the centre-back berth.
And they both...
He went out left-back, and then when the ball came in, he just decided, no, I can't be at left-back. And there was just 3 centre-backs on the 6-yard line. And Wilf Zaha, left with a pretty easy job, ultimately.
Not good enough.
With his penalty, Milivojevic now has 20 Premier League goals for Palace. No player has more since his debut in February 2017. And add to that goal his all-round performance with 6 tackles, and he ran Zaha very close as man of the match. James Tompkins actually getting man of the match in this game. He put in one of his best performances in a long time, 100% tackle success rate, 9 clearances, 2 interceptions, and 4 aerial duels won. What a beast of a performance at the back. Although Wilf Zaha post-match, when he was told James Tompkins got MOTM, he was like, what, really? Okay then. So he wasn't best pleased about that. Big games for both sides coming up midweek. Eagles hosting Manchester United, while the Foxes see a Brighton side in equally poor form coming to the King Power. But the chat remains around Leicester. Who should be the next manager? Guys, what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below.
Our final winners of the day are Burnley, putting together an outrageous run of form. This was sent in by Ehai13 Hamill.
Yeah, Sean Dyche's men defeating Spurs 2-1, which now means they're unbeaten in 8, winning 5 of those fixtures, last losing in the Premier League in 2018. 2019 has been very kind. In that time, only United, City, Liverpool, Spurs and Arsenal have picked up more points than the Clarets. Such has been their imperious form. And normally, when Burnley edge a big side. They've done it by, you know, being purveyors of the dark arts.
Yeah, their record against big sides at home is horrible.
Yes.
They never beat a big side at home.
However, they did so in this game, and they did so deservingly, which is a rarity. It's a shiny. It's a Mewtwo for Sean Dyche, because expected goals had this at 1.1 to 0.85, a collector's item, a deserved victory against the Big Six for the Ginger Mourinho. And, you know, he was buzzing. Let's have a look post-match.
You've got to find a way to win. That's what it's like in the Premier League when you're Burnley. You know, and I think we're finding ways to win once again. And I think, you know, there's a lot to be really pleased about and a lot to focus on, because there's some really good stuff that we're playing, but also the little in-between things, the little things that we're doing really well.
As you'd expect, though, from Burnley, a very, very strong defensive performance. Their organisation is so good. And you know what? It's both a joy and a disaster to watch. Like, I hate watching Burnley, but I'm sure Burnley fans must love it. It's so boring.
They're the Premier League's Atletico Madrid.
I mean, that's kind. That's really kind, because I'll be honest, they never get out their own half the time, do they? But players like James Tarkowski, week in, week out, put in brilliant defensive performances. On the day in this one, 9 aerial duels won, 14 clearances and 4 tackles. And you know, if it hadn't been for a momentary lapse of concentration by Ben Mee and Tarkowski for the long Danny Rose throw-in, it could have been it could have been one of the best defensive performances of the season for me. This by Burnley. They just let nothing
They're
through.
a good partnership, aren't they, Tarkowski and Mee?
Absolutely superb.
Really
but the real talking point, yet again, came from the manager, didn't it? It happened after the game where Maurizio Pochettino absolutely lost his head with Mike Dean. Let's roll that VT.
All this content in one weekend.
Not too sure what Mike Dean said to Pochettino to get him that riled up, because it's very rare you see Pochettino lose his head like that. The celebrity ref at it yet again. You know, obviously calling him out, saying something under his breath that Pochettino wasn't happy with, because he then went to the camera and went, "Say what you said to me to the camera." And Mike Dean immediately bottled it.
Good Poch impression from you there.
I know, not a happy bunny Pochettino, and rightly so. You know, there were some dodgy decisions. I don't think it was a corner for the Burnley goal. I thought that was a goal kick. I think that Phil Bardsley probably should have been sent off for that lunge on Danny Rose. Admittedly, though, Foyth probably could have been sent off as well. But it's just classic Mike Dean. You know, reserving that 100th red card for an elite player.
Yeah,
He's just waiting for it to send off a Man United player in a Man United City game, isn't he?
He wants the back pages, isn't it? Back pages of the Metro.
Yeah,
for that 100th red.
Just not really good enough. But either way, this probably, in my opinion, signals the end of Tottenham's title bid. As some would say. I think 6 points off Liverpool, 5 points off City now, and they've got to go to Chelsea midweek. Their record at the Bridge is stinking. I think it's like 1 win in 20-odd years, just not really good enough. If they lose there, I don't really know what Pochettino does. I kind of feel like this could well be as far as he can take Tottenham Hotspur at this current moment in time with no budget.
Yeah, but not exactly an isolated incident this season. That might be the most high profile, but there's been a few cagey post-match press conferences. We've seen a different side to Poch as expectations have increased and his transfer budget has decreased. So maybe that frustration is boiling over. Maybe a slump at the end of the season might see him more receptive to pastures new. Let's see. What do you guys think? Will Poch take this all in stride? Will they bounce back against Chelsea? Let us know in the poll just above who you've got down as your winner. Our last losers are Huddersfield, and this comes from KJ161200. Sort that out. The Terriers, they've been neutered, they've been spayed, they've been put down.
They're awful. They're absolutely tragic, aren't they? They lost 2-0 away at Newcastle, rock bottom of the league. They have picked up just 11 points so far. At this stage of the season, in Premier League history, only 2 sides had a lower total. Can you name them in the comments below? I'll give you one for free. One was Derby. What was the other, though? And it's safe to say, coming into this one, they were thoroughly dominated by the Toon Army. Just 45% possession. They took just 3 shots. Newcastle mustered 29. Newcastle, who have been impotent this season going forward.
Blue ball.
Mustered 29. And quite frankly, the lack of shots from Huddersfield is now a disgrace. It really is. They've scored the fewest goals in the whole of Europe with just 14.
Getting to the point where you celebrate a shot as a Huddersfield
Mate,
fan,
they've
isn't
lost the most league games of any of the 98 teams in Europe's top 5 leagues. Bearing in mind, there is some absolute in Italy.
Tough on the new manager as well, just to come in and have to deal with this and have your record so almost, you know, it's so bad, it's negative at this point before it's really begun his tenure.
Yeah, and it didn't get off to a great start, did it? Obviously, Tommy Smith sent off on 20 minutes for a lunge. I don't know, man. I felt it was a little bit harsh. I could see why it's a red card, but equally, I felt like it was a little bit harsh. Could equally have been a yellow.
Do you know why it was? It's because there was a hotly contested sort of like 50-50, I think, moments before, and he's clearly gone in on his teammate.
Made a lot of it.
Bang.
He really did.
I don't know, if you see your new £21 million man on the receiving end of that, I'd want a red card for that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Tommy Smith?
Yeah, I mean, Huddersfield's disciplinary record is as well. They've, I think, had more red cards this season than any other side. That's 4. And like you said, Jan Siewert, since taking over, he's just realised he's in an absolute show. They are as far down as you can possibly be. I mean,
he's took over the Titanic after half of it sunk.
But do you know what I will say? At least Huddersfield have gone, okay, well, we're going down. We're going to bring Jan Siewert in, and he can at least build for the Championship. You look at a club like Fulham, who are going down as well, and have got Claudio Ranieri still at the helm. Get rid of him. Jesus Christ. I mean, get rid of Claudio Ranieri and at least appoint a manager who can have 6 months at the club to build for next season. Because 100% Ranieri is not there in the Championship.
Talking of getting rid, Joseph, it looks like Newcastle have almost secured safety at this point, owing to improved form of late. The win now moves them to 50th, 4 points from the relegation zone. So not too far away from that relegation dogfight, but going in the right direction, thanks to the exploits of Solomon Rondon. He netted the first goal for the Toon and assisted the second. He's now been directly involved in 46% of Newcastle's 24 Premier League goals this season with 7 goals and 4 assists. He's now equalled, after just 21 appearances, his best haul for goal involvements in a Premier League campaign.
It's really good.
So he's always been a handful because he's such a physical specimen, very mobile across that front line, but has tended to play for teams that have struggled for goals. He's now matching that industry with end product. Let's hope that he can get a few more before the season is out, because supposedly a lovely guy as well. And a special shout out to Miguel Almiron, already
he's back.
Sweetheart of Tyneside, isn't he? Making his starting debut, taking 4 shots, putting 3 on target. But his creativity in this game is really what set him apart. It really highlighted why Newcastle brought him in. He laid on 6 chances for his teammates, the most on the pitch and double the entire Huddersfield squad.
Do you know what? I saw some Newcastle fans saying that Almiron is the most talented Newcastle player since Shearer.
I mean, that is pretty much jumping in at the deep end, isn't it?
Also,
heads have come clean off at six opportunities created.
One quick shout out, it's not in the script, but there has to be a mention for Sean Longstaff in the midfield. He is absolutely crushing it. He was man of the match in this game. I actually think he was level with Almiron in terms of performance. He has been unbelievable.
What about that bloody effort that came back off the crossbar?
He can't stop performing. He's in the run of his life at the moment, Longstaff. Fair play to him.
And we do want to see, you know, big clubs like Newcastle develop some more homegrown talent. It's a good platform for them, and it's not really happened of late, has it?
No.
At Newcastle. Well, no, Lascelles is from Forest, wasn't he? Yes, so Newcastle now looking for a 4th straight home league win. I don't think they won in their opening 10 games, so this sort of form unimaginable at the start of the season when they take on Burnley next week, while Huddersfield will be facing Wolves. Oh, it doesn't get any easier for them, does it? As they'll be looking to end this 15-game winless run. Poor bloody Siwa.
Oh dear.
Siwa later, Huddersfield, Championship bound.
That's the end of winners and losers for this week, but make sure you check out Euro Roundup over on EFD, because you're covering who?
Yeah, we've got the Bundesliga race, we've got some misdemeanors in Italy with VAR and much, much more. So come and join us live at 5 PM. Touch wood, you know, all goes well. See you there, and, you know, subscribe to FDFC if you're not already, and go and check out our vlog of Marseille, where we did a personal mastermind with Balotelli and Ada Hegerberg. Bye.
Bye.